And good afternoon, guys, and welcome to another edition of Real Talks. I'm your host, David Steele. Sorry, guys, about the snafu. This took longer than I thought it was going to. So basically, and then I thought I was having internet problems, and I didn't want you guys to have it lagging. So I said, you know what? Let's push it back another 15 minutes, and then we'll get this done. Anyways, welcome, guys. As I said, welcome to another edition of Real Talks, where all these movies I talk about, new or old, basically are going to ignite a conversation. So I want you guys to actually come help me talk about these. So, welcome everybody back to the beginning of, or I shouldn't say the beginning, I should say the continuation of Marvel March. So, as you guys are familiar with, or maybe you're new here, and welcome. For the whole month of March, I have been talking about these Marvel films. The great Marvel films, not the average or subtle, the great Marvel films. I started out with Iron Man, then we went to Avengers Endgame, then we did Infinity War first, then we did Endgame, which, by the way, guys, I know I'm going backwards, but, you know, then we just did Civil War. But I really wanted, today was a different one, so I wanted to talk to everybody about another one, and that's the Avengers. So why was the Avengers such a great movie? And why did it do so well? Well, let's talk about it real quick. First and foremost, I want to talk about the numbers. So I know it's not the sexiest thing in the world, okay? However, in the grand scheme of things, this is something that needs to be spoken about because when you look at films, okay, and we talk about films, we always talk about numbers, okay? It's part of the dichotomy of the times. So, that all being said, the reason why this was such a great movie, one of the main reasons, okay, and is because this blew up for it was the first film in history, guys. Now, obviously, cinema's been around for over 100 years. It was the first movie to ever break $200 million in opening weekend. Think about that. I mean, we have films today that, I won't say it's subtle, but when we hear about $100 million opening before the pandemic, now there's two different things. You have before the pandemic and you have after the pandemic. So before the pandemic, if you had a $100 million opening, you were successful. Today, if you have a $100 million movie, you're really successful. Beyond that, here's the thing, guys. This was back 12 years ago. So we're going all the way back to 2012. Okay? Couple of reasons why this was a huge opening and the biggest at the time, I gotta add. Number one, okay, we had success with some other films. I talked about Iron Man. Okay, we had Thor that was done really, really well by Kenneth Branagh. Okay? This was the first team-up movie for Marvel. And when people saw the potential, I want to welcome Dadpool and everybody that is watching, and I hope you enjoyed today's stream. So the real reason why this was the first team-up movie for Marvel, and it was one of those things where when we saw the end credits, as I demonstrated at the end of Iron Man, the potential was there. When he said, I want to talk about the Avenger Initiative. And people go, oh shit, they're really going to do this. This had been talked about and thought about, but this had never been done in history. So when you have an opening, okay, I'm going to go back to the number, $207 million. $207 million. Now, this finished with over $1.5 billion. Think about that. Not out of the realm, not out of the reach, but $1.5 billion. Okay, that makes it, by the way, guys, when we talk about numbers, that makes it the 10th largest movie of all time. Of all time. I'm talking about, think about that, of all time. Okay, $1.5 billion. So, let's dive into the numbers even a little bit more because this is something that's incredibly important. Okay? So it finished with $623 million. Now, put that in perspective for a minute. There have only been So this was not only the largest film of the year, okay, subsequently. So there were a couple of other films that came out this year or that year, okay? You had The Dark Knight Rises, which came out, which, by the way, finished with 400. Now, these are all domestic numbers, $448 million, okay? You had The Hunger Games, which, by the way, guys, was seeing all these movies, sensational movies, that's a worldwide thing, The Hunger Games, just like Harry Potter. Put Jennifer Lawrence on the map. You have Skyfall, which, by the way, guys, go out and check, and I will put the link right up here when I'm done in the video. I just did Skyfall for my perfect movie series. I believe it's a perfect movie. Hands down, twice on Sunday. Who they're going to get to play James Bond? We'll talk about that at another time, because that's really the touch point right now. There is somebody out there that they're considering that. We'll see about that. Okay? But Skyfall was the number 4 finisher. And then, it's so, as I said, so that one, okay, that was one of the final ones. And then you had Twilight. So those were that finished with $286 million. Now, the only one to make $1 billion out of that, okay, was Skyfall. And that made like 1.1, 1.2. So, as I said, it's $1 billion. Made almost $890 million internationally. You say, well, it made a lot of money overseas. But think about it. So when we talk about Black Panther, for example, okay, Black Panther made $700 million. One of the other films. And so up until that point, that was the first movie to make $200 million. And I'm touching upon money a lot because it's a different economy today. There have been 8 films, okay, ever, to make $200+ million opening weekend. Subsequently, they're all Marvel or Disney, okay? Black Panther, which I touched upon, which, by the way, guys, I will put up the little link in the description for you guys because I just recently did a retrospective of Black Panther. Infinity War, which we touched upon a couple of videos ago. Endgame, which, at the end of the day, nothing will ever beat Endgame. Nothing will ever beat $387 million. I'm sorry, okay? Spider-Man No Way Home, which, by the way, guys, I will be doing. I said I was going to do it for Marvel March. I thought about it the other day. Little tease, I am going to be doing what I'm calling Spidey streams. So starting April 15th, okay, in case you aren't familiar with it, Sony is releasing all the Spider-Man movies. So what I'm going to do, okay, I'm going to go see it on Monday night, on Tuesdays. Starting April 16th, guys, mark it down on your calendars, okay, I'm going to be doing what I'm calling Spidey streams. I'm going to go to the movie theater and rewatch every single Spider-Man movie. And then I'm going to be coming back and telling you guys what I really liked about it and what I didn't and everything else. So that's going to be coming up in the middle of April. Check that out. Star Wars: The Force Awakens. Now, obviously, that one was going to blow up because it had been, almost 16 years, okay, in between Sith and Force Awakens, Last Jedi, and then Jurassic World. So that really started the trend of $200 million movie openings. Okay. Now that that's all out of the way, and once again, guys, the money is important. It's just like anything else here in the business. This is going to be a little different because normally I would tell you guys what the most important things are about it. Okay. However, this one was a little different because it's a team-up movie. You say, well, we've had team-up movies in the past, like A-Team and The Italian Job. But here's the thing. There had never been a team-up movie like this because this was, once again, Marvel. Once again, guys, brand new thing with Marvel. We didn't know how this was going to work. They're still on the seat of their pants. Yes, they've had success with Iron Man. Yes, they've had success with Thor. But they don't know how it's going to work. Now, so really, there was only one. So we have all the introductions are fantastic in this movie. Okay. So as the movie kicks off, we've got Black Widow. Okay. She's the one that goes to get Bruce. Okay, which by the way, I found it very interesting. Okay, and very good. You have this big, gigantic Hulk that can smash and do anything he wants, and he's in a very secluded type of area, right? I thought that was fantastic, and we learn more about the Hulk as as the movie goes on, whether it's what its secret is, we find out what it is at the end, or how he's introduced, or anything else. There's another major hero that we get introduced to, and that's Cap. So Cap is obviously the guy. I mean, I just did Civil War the other day. Either you have, either you're on Team Cap or you're on Team Iron Man, right? The comedy in this, I'll get to the other comedy bits in a couple of minutes. But, as he's walking away, Nick says, well, is there something you could tell us about the Tesseract? He's like, you should have left it in the ocean. Just little things like that are just so well done and so well placed. And that is the MacGuffin, guys. That is the MacGuffin, and that's the Tesseract. So anybody who's not familiar with what a MacGuffin is, okay, it's that one thing that pick any movie you want, any action adventure movie you want, okay, and whatever it is, okay. For example, Raiders of the Lost Ark. The Ark is the MacGuffin, right? Because everybody's after that. Or in this case, it's the Tesseract, okay? And this is the first time, guys, we're really introduced to any of the Infinity Stones. I mean, we don't know there's a stone in there, okay? But we are, later on we find out that, oh, wow, this has one of the stones. And this is well before anything that we know of. Now, obviously, there are two major, the major thing. This is the first time that we are introduced to the guy. And I'm talking about, everybody knows this, and I was going to touch upon this later, but the guy. And we wondered if he was going to even show up. Thanos, guys. Now, anybody who's and by the way, I would have paid a lot of money to have been in the theater for this. Less is more here, guys. Less is more. The simple fact of the matter is this. All he did was turn and smile. There were no words spoken. Now, mind you, his proxy had said something about how, Earth, humans, they're not the wretched things we were promised. Is to court the humans is to court death. And then we just see the hands, and then the turn, and a little smile. And it's like, okay, absolutely. Everybody lost it. Because this is the first time that we're actually getting introduced to the big bad. And that grin was all we needed. And you're right, that's all we needed. That's all we needed. Because I think, personally speaking, if Thanos had said anything, it would have diminished his power. And we all know how powerful Thanos is, or was. Fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. And as I spoke about, guys, there were only 4 times when we saw Thanos completely. From this shot here, this was the first time. Then we go to Guardians of the Galaxy, and he's speaking to Ronan. Then there's one other shot, and then at the end, credit scene, fine, I'll do it myself. And that's it. And that's what made him even more powerful and more like, okay, they're really teasing us. We know who the end guy is going to be, the big bad's going to be, but they're really teasing us. So when we find out who the big bad is too, that is a major, major thing. So as I touched upon in the intro, this is not going to be your normal like themes. This is what it was. I'm going to basically go through and tell you what I enjoyed. Now, mind you guys, I've seen this in the theater. Okay, saw it twice in the theater. I don't think I ever saw the end credits, though, now that I think about it. I never stuck around for the end credits. Anyways, I've seen this outside probably like 7, 8 times. So I've seen this about 10 times. And there are still things that just blow my mind about this movie. Okay. One of the things that really I loved, okay, so I'm going to be talking to you guys about the things I enjoyed. Because there's only one real character arc, okay, in this film, and that's Tony. Tony is the perennial superhero. I mean, we go from a narcissistic type of guy with Tony to somebody who is wanting to save the world. And Tony is the guy, right? He is the guy. And we all figure out, okay, so the only character arc we really had of him is him. Everybody else we knew about. And, okay, so that all being said, let's talk about what I liked. So the first thing I really liked was the visual effects. This was back when Marvel was Marvel, right? They did a hell of a job with the visual effects. I thought it was well done. You wouldn't have even known it was a aircraft carrier in space, or coming out of the water. And that's good CGI, guys. That's good visual effects. Is when you can't tell something is fake, they've done their job. They've really put a lot of hard work into it, and they've done their job. And so, I mean, it wasn't just the aircraft carrier. I mean, that's incredible. It was like the scenes in New York and everything else. And by the way, some of those sets were practical. So here's a shot I really like to show people where I came across. This is behind the scenes footage. So we see they're on a lot, okay? And that's a green screen, guys. That's a green screen. You get the little, now this isn't motion capture either. This isn't like The Last of Us where they did all the motion capture. But, you see all the little dots, the little things on the people on the ground. And that is how they got the effect for the creatures. So it's always fascinating to see that. And I love the behind the scenes stuff because that's really what makes the movie go. Because if you believe it, if viewers are willing to take that one leap, it's gonna work. Okay. So now that we have that out of the way, okay, let's talk about, one of my favorite scenes, and I got to be honest with you guys, and I'm going to go back to the shot, is when they're all in the lab. And mind you, Cap says, put on the suit, right? Put on the suit. Let's go a couple rounds. Let's see what you got. And he says, I know 10 people, you're worth one of every 10 guys that I have. That being said, it's really cool to see that. And they really do a great job all the way around with all of the things. Josh Whedon, look, I got to be honest with you. I don't care for Whedon as for all the bullshit he's gone through or he's done. But as a filmmaker, I'm able to separate the art from the artist. And that being said, this was one of his great movies. Now, he had done other stuff in the past, but this was really his piece of work that, really worked. Something else that I really enjoyed, the Stark Tower. So when we see the Stark Tower in the beginning of the film, it says Stark on it, clean energy. And so we see this. By the end of the film, okay, in the third act, when everything goes awry, and the building keeps falling apart, I love how they showed the A, right? It's a new Avengers building, right? So it can signify a couple things. Number one, he is an Avenger. Okay, Stark is an Avenger. Or number two, this is the Avengers, right? So I really thoroughly enjoyed that, and it did it so well. Um, there was another scene that I particularly cared for as well, and that was so the one person I'm not talking about, okay, the elephant in the room, if you will, is Loki. Loki is the one that makes this whole thing go, and we finally get. I mean, we were introduced to him partially in Thor and everything else, and when he comes to Earth and he starts wreaking havoc, okay, this is one of my most favorite scenes. After Barton's been taken prisoner and Selvig has been taken prisoner, and so they have an exchange. And we have seen, by the way, guys, we saw what Black Widow's interrogation skills were like. Okay, at the beginning of the movie, when she gets a call from Clark Gregg's character. She's like, okay, hold on, let me put you on hold. And she just manages to knock out 3 guys in no time. But she was able to talk to the general and find out all this information. She's like, yeah, he's giving me everything. And he's like, huh? It's the same thing what she does with Loki, right? And then she finds out that he plays the Hulk. You know, when he says, you brought, you know, he basically slams on the glass, says, look, you know, I'm going to wait until I kill you slowly, intimately. And she's like, you're a monster. And he's like, no, you brought the monster. And he's like, oh, Hulk, that should play. It's like, he's meaning to bust out the Hulk. And then that goes to the lab scene. But it's one of those things where it was so well done and the exchange was so good that, you know, it really works for me. That's another, you know, like I said, guys, I'm just going through a couple of the things. These are all really good. The whole film is really good. By the way, guys, there's another scene, and I don't have a picture for this, but I want to talk about it. It's the juxtaposition when they're in Germany, right? So he talks to Selvig, is this the element you need? And then he goes to Germany. You have violin music playing, okay? And then the whole thing becomes very violent, right? And it's like, wow, okay. I love the juxtaposition there of the soft, melancholy music and the violence in the interaction. And then that goes right into the action scene where we get Cap and we get Iron Man and they capture him. And then eventually Thor comes in. But it's like, that's a great job of mixing not old, but soft with loud and action with that. So that's a great thing. But let's talk about the whole third act, because the whole third act, was incredible. The whole third act was just dynamite, and you can really break this movie up into obviously three things. The first act is getting the whole team together. That's the whole first act. Okay. The second act is basically getting the cube and finding the cube. Okay. And then the third, okay, is the final act, the final battle in New York. And when they did the final battle in New York, it was incredible. So let's talk about the third act, because that's one of those things that really makes this thing go and makes it. I gotta say, guys, this is a 2 hour and 34-minute movie, but it doesn't seem like it at all. I mean, we've all sat through movies that are boring, and you're like, is this thing ever going to end? And then we've gone through movies like a Dune 2, for example, where it just flies. Like Dune 2 was almost 3 hours. You wouldn't know it. You wouldn't know it at all. That being said, this was a fantastic third act, and it didn't drag, and that was an important thing. This is one of the let me talk about the score again, if I didn't already in some of the other films, because they've kept the same guy. This is the most, when we talk about films and we talk about um, movies, there's always one shot in every movie or one scene. Think about your favorite movie and think about that one scene, whether it's the scene in Training Day, King Kong ain't got nothing on me, or whether it's the Avengers, or whatever it is. You know, there's that one scene, there's that one shot that's just magical. This is that scene when they're completely surrounded and you're getting all the aerial shots and everything else. And they look down, and then that music kicks in. And then, by the way, guys, it's almost the same. So the same guy who did the score for this has done pretty much everything. Okay, he did Endgame, he did Infinity War. Okay. That being said, guys, when that camera goes 360 degrees and we get everybody, Black Widow, Iron Man, Thor, Cap, wow, right? Just wow. It was fantastic. And then, Iron Man then says, okay, Cap, call it out. And, so he basically designates this, and obviously, at the end, Hulk, smash. Just how they're able to mix humor with dramatic things, with adventure. This was so good. This was so good. And ironically, so I talked about one of the post-credit scenes earlier, okay, in Thanos. And Thanos was obviously the big bad, blew it up. There is something else, too. So I think one of the best end credit scenes of all time is the shawarma scene. Now, anybody who's not familiar with the scene, okay, and I'm sure everybody, if you haven't watched the Avengers, first of all, I'm recommending it. Second of all, go stay until the end. So the shawarma scene is one of the, when Iron Man comes down and he basically is able to save New York from a nuke that was going to explode. And he's like, so what happened? He's like, oh, we won? And he's like, yay. So we're going to go get some shawarma later, And that was the thing. Now, here's the thing, okay? Couple of things. Number one, this was added really late. This was like a last minute type of thing. I did notice something. I was watching it the other day, as I do with all these movies, guys. I have all these notes. I've seen the movie 8 or 9 times. I never noticed in one of the scenes, Iron Man was actually in front of the shawarma restaurant. And I was just like, oh, wow. So that's, little things you pick up after 8 or 9 times, right? So this is the end scene, though. And it's interesting because not only was it a late addition, but the reason why Chris Evans has his hand over his mouth, okay, or on his cheek, and I don't know if you guys know this, he was actually filming Snowpiercer at the time. So it couldn't look like, okay, well, why does he have a beard here and he didn't have a beard earlier? So they basically just covered it up. But this is one of the it's one of the terrific scenes. It's a small little bit, but it's done very good. Yeah, and it's just, I don't know. I mean, what else am I missing here? But it's a terrific movie. It's so well done. Oh, another scene. This is hilarious. When we talk about humor in this film, this gets me every time. I've seen this movie 8 or 9 times, more like probably 10. Every single time, this shot gets me. Where Loki's trying to yell at the Hulk, and he just picks him up and smashes him, and he walks away and says, puny God. And the funny thing is, you never hear Hulk talk, ever, rarely, right? Until, of course, Infinity War or Endgame, where, he's the Hulk and Bruce all in one thing. Professor Hulk is what they call him. But this is like the early iterations of Hulk, so you never hear him talk. So when he says puny God, that makes it even that much funnier. Guys, this movie is just unbelievably good. And there's a reason why, I mean, I went back to it earlier, but there's a reason why it made so much money. And I'll be honest with you guys, too. I don't think this gets made today. At the end of the day, um, I don't think this gets made today because it's just I don't know, because they had everything, they had all the pieces in place back then, and I think that there's a lot of things that would have gone wrong. And so, I mean, this had a $200 million budget and everything else, but this just overall worked. I don't think there's anything. I talked about how they did the building with the Stark building. One final note, I should say this, and now it's interesting all these years later, right? So there's a little somebody in this film that went on to do a huge game later on. In case you guys don't know who that is, or maybe you do, that's Ashley Johnson. She's the one who went on to do the voice of Ellie in The Last of Us. And of course, she was in one of the episodes playing Ellie's mother. But that's interesting, right? I won't say cameo because we didn't really know that she was going to go on and do what she did, but that's cool. To get a callback, to be able to look at a film 12 years ago and go, wow, yeah. So, because when you go back, if you don't know who it is, and then you go, is that who I think it is? And then you'll maybe rewind it or check it out, or you go into IMDb and go, oh, wow, it is. So that's a cool little get, too. But yeah, it's a fun little Easter egg. You're right. It is a fun little Easter egg. It is one of those things where you don't really know who it is, or you think you know who it is, and then when you check it out, you're a little surprised about it. But yeah, guys, this is fantastic. This is one of the great Marvel movies of all time. I mean, we're 30 plus movies into this. I've done, this is my 5th or 6th movie doing it. And it's just, this is premium, top notch, well done Marvel. And they would go on to do, several more good quality films. And I'll talk about a couple of those, as we wrap up here, but it's like, wow, there's not much else to say about this, guys. This is one of those movies that if you haven't seen the Avengers, wow. I'm jealous of you, really, because I think the first time you sit down and watch this, you're really, really going to enjoy this. Yeah. So, but that is the Avengers, and that is something that I really enjoyed. This Avenger movies is much, much better than the Uma Thurman. Yes. So anybody who doesn't know, that's Ralph Fiennes. So that's the movie. It's with Uma Thurman and Ralph Fiennes, and there is another film out there called The Avengers. So it is very interesting that we look upon that today. But so, what is coming up on the channel? So much stuff, guys. First and foremost, okay, I said that we're only, we've got 9 days left here in March, okay? What I'm going to do is I have 2 or 3 other films slated for the rest of the month, okay? And so I have Winter Soldier, okay, that I'm going to do for you guys. And that one, and I'm going to do Guardians of the Galaxy for you guys. As I said, I'm going to hold off on No Way Home because, I'm going to be doing the Spidey streams. So, but the middle of April is going to be packed. Okay, so I'm going to go see The Dark Knight on the 16th. Okay, so Spider-Man starts on the 15th. Okay, I'm going to stream for you guys on the 16th. I'm going to take those Tuesdays off. Then that same week, or very close to that same week, we have Civil War coming out. A24 Civil War. By the way, guys, I just, on an off note, speaking of A24, I just went to go see Love Lies Bleeding last night. Loved it. It's different, but it's a very cool movie. I think Katie O'Brien gives a career performance. Ed Harris is fantastic in it. Go check it out. It's a good watch. But nonetheless, A24 is going to be having Civil War come out. I'm going to go cover that for you guys in the month of April. On April 1st, I will be streaming The Departed, the 2008 Best Picture winner, 2009, released in 2008 Best Picture winner, Martin Scorsese. Then we have Collateral. These are all retrospectives I'm going to be doing throughout the month. Collateral, Draft Day, Nightmare on Elm Street, either Gremlins or The Karate Kid, one of the two. I haven't made up my mind about that. Okay. Plus, I'm going to be having Phil Walsh back on, and we're going to be talking about The Dark Knight. He's a huge Batman fan. The Spider-Man streams, as I said. So there is so much stuff. I am going to be working on another Anatomy of a Movie video. I've got the first video lined up. What I want to do, I want to talk about Heat. The coffee shop scene, I think it's one of the top 25 scenes ever put on film. And I want to really go through and talk about why he did what he did and when he did what he did. Okay. Moreover than that, guys. Okay. And I end every stream with this. And it's an important part. And it's memberships. And you say, oh, money? Really? He's going to ask me for money? No. First and foremost, I want you to look at this real closely. Okay. The reason why I bring this up, guys, is because this is a side hustle for me. Okay. I have a job that I work quite a bit at. And this is, this is what I love movies. But, okay, I want to do this as a full-time gig. Here's the thing. I put together a membership package. The first month for you guys is completely free. Completely free. It's not going to cost you a dime. What I tell people is this, okay? Go check out the content, okay? Go check out the retrospectives. Go check out, the Perfect Movie Series. Go check out, the interviews. Go check out Anatomy of a Movie. If you don't like it, don't stay subscribed. Don't take away the membership. Okay, it's not going to cost you a dime. But if you do, if you really like it, you would be supporting me and helping me out a lot. Okay, that all being said, okay, couple of things. Number one, okay, let's put it like this. $3 a month is like a cup of coffee at Starbucks. It's nothing. Okay. $6 a month. If you're in Los Angeles, depending where you are in the country, gasoline, I just saw something the other day, it was $6.29. Okay. $6 a month. That's all it's going to cost you. And if you want to go for the big one, the director, it's $9.99 a month. Now, here's the thing, guys. I've made this super cheap. HBO Max with ads is $9.99 a month. Netflix is just raising their prices again. Hulu at the end of the month, at the end of this month, is going to be stopping password. They're going to be cracking down on passwords. Okay? I'm giving you all of this content, all of it, for $10 a month. But here's the kicker. I'm not putting it behind a paywall at all. I could, but I won't. Whether it's a Perfect Movie Series because here's the thing. I watch YouTube too. I have my favorite creators. Okay. If they did this, I would be upset. Okay. So I would never do this to you guys. That all being said, okay, $10 a month is nothing. And I do have goals. Okay. I'm not just going to say, come give me money. I have goals. First and foremost, my first goal, I want to hit 2,000 subscribers by the end of this year. # road to 2,000. Okay. The second goal is I want to get between 15 to 20 paid memberships by the end of this year. I think it's very doable. Okay. I'm not shooting for the stars because I know I'm still trying to grow and everything else. But 15 to 20 paid memberships by the end of this year. Okay. If you do nothing else, guys, nothing else, please hit that like and subscribe button, because what that does is two things. Number one, it tells me you like the content. Number two, you'll never miss a video, okay, whether it's a retrospective, anything to that nature, okay? And number three, it gets it out to other people too. Anybody who pops in here for just a few minutes and then, clicks on a video on the recommended, I want them to actually experience this. And because everybody loves movies, whether you're small or tall, whatever, okay? And I think that it's vitally important. Movies are part of the fabric of society, okay? Everybody has their favorite movie, okay? I still remember, 2 years old going to see Star Wars with my grandma, okay? But the point is that everybody has a favorite movie. And I'm trying to give you the best content I can. And the other thing too is any of this stuff, any of the money that you are, until I'm able to do this, is all going to go back. So it's going to get better and better. I'm going to be able to get better interviews. I'm going to be able to do more retrospectives. I'm going to be able to do the perfect movie, everything else like that, guys. So there are steps here, but I can't grow and I can't do this without your help. And I love doing this. This is just a part of it. Okay. And this isn't me begging for money. I want you to put your money where your mouth is, right? Because money's tight for everybody today. I understand that. I'm in that position too. Okay. I want your money to be well spent, but make up your own mind, because I could talk to you about this till I'm blue in the face. Go watch the videos, see if you like them. If you like them, subscribe. Okay? Deadpool, I got your back. Thank you very much. And Deadpool's been, I should say this, Deadpool's been a not only a subscriber, but a member for many months. Okay? I don't have to say this. He could tell you this. Okay? That all being said, though, I want you to, if you're going to spend the money, I want you to make sure it's going where you want it to go. But that's why I made the first month completely free. Okay? So, yeah, that's it. I do have goals, like I said, and I want to have this channel grow. I think about this all the time. So I have the whole, I mapped out 30, 40, 50 retrospectives for you guys. From Batman 1989 to Nightmare on Elm Street to another one I'm going to be doing too is Charlie's Angels, the 2019 Charlie's Angels movie. I got Joker on the list. I have so many retrospectives I want for you guys. Okay? So just keep that in mind. So, okay, guys. So that's going to do it for the Avengers. Coming up throughout the rest of the month, we've got 9 days left, 9 days left. Okay, as I said, Guardians of the Galaxy, Winter Soldier, and then we're going to save No Way Home. So you guys are going to get at least 2 more, maybe 3, but definitely 2 more retrospectives. Not even retrospectives, but having to do with Marvel March for the rest of the month. And that is going to do it for me today. So, guys, there are 3 things I ask every single day of everybody. 1 is be safe. 2 is be careful. And 3 is have a great rest of the day no matter where you are. Okay? I am David Steele. This has been Real Talks, and I will see you guys later. Bye.